Here are some rocks that I painted. They are glowing in the dark. They have been charged up with a UV Blacklight. And this is what they look like under the UV Blacklight. And here's the first batch of glow-in-the-dark rocks that I painted. I sealed them in resin, which may yellow over time. These are some of the paints that I have been using. I like to use the Neon Lights colors by Deco Art, and these are the brighter neon colors. My first set of orange and yellow that I found that I liked the best were Anita's. And here is a neon purple that I found at Walmart, which worked really well. But the purple that I liked the best was this Liquitex Acrylic Gouache. It's a little bit pricey, but it's really wonderful. These are paints that I purchased from a company called ArtNGlow, and they are labeled just like this. They're really nice to work with, and they have amazing glow-in-the-dark capability. This is the white. These are two colors that I also got, pink and purple. The pink actually glows orange and the purple glows kind of grayish purple, but it's definitely purple. As far as prepping goes, I found that the glow-in-the-dark paints work better. They actually glow better if they're on a white background. The rocks themselves look really wonderful when they're black, but the paints don't glow as well when they're on the black rocks. So I am prepping two rocks here in white, and our final rock that's in this video is going to be black. I haven't shown the prep for that, but it's just like coating any rock in black. And I like to use a little sponge for this because it makes it really fast, and you don't need to be very accurate. And you really just want to, you don't need to coat the whole thing. You can if you want to. The first rock that we're going to make was based on a design that I did originally in black. And this is how it looked when it was glowing in the dark. And so this is the rock after it's all done. These are the colors that we are going to be using. So I picked yellow, blue, light blue, pink, green, and light green. And then the actual glow-in-the-dark colors on top of those original colors are going to be white, dark blue, sky blue, orange, green, and aqua. So I usually do pick a spot in the center. If it's a small rock, I can just find it by eye. But if it's a bigger rock, I do use a pencil and a ruler. And I definitely use toothpicks quite a bit. So we're moving on to the lighter blue color. Now all of these original colors that we're using do glow under blacklight. But when you add the glow-in-the-dark paint on top, it actually changes the color, and you'll see in the final rock how that works. This rock is a pretty simple pattern. I like to call this outer effect kind of like a windmill effect. So I'm doing 2 layers. The first layer is in the brighter green and the second layer is in the lighter green. So really the disadvantage of coating these rocks in white to start with is that in the daylight the colors don't really show up that great. The black rocks look fantastic in the daylight, but they don't glow quite as much. So what I'm doing here is just using a little blacklight flashlight to check the colors of the glow paint that I used on this original rock so that I can use the same colors. So I am starting with the dark blue because the center big yellow dot in the middle isn't quite dry yet, so I'm going to go back to that. White color actually is kind of like a yellowish when it starts glowing. And then our final layer, we are going to do with the aqua. These little rocks make great kindness rocks. Really fun for glowing in the dark. So I'm charging up the glow-in-the-dark paint with my little blacklight flashlight. And doing the same with the original rock right next to it. It's good if you can charge them while you're painting because it gets them to be activated more quickly. There's actually a lot of science behind this glow-in-the-dark paint. So here is this little white rock after we've all finished it. And here's how it looks when it's under the UV blacklight. So the colors are pretty brilliant. And then once I've turned the blacklight off, this is how it looks when it's glowing in the dark. So our second rock, I used a pattern that I really liked that I did on a black rock in metallic paint, but this is glow-in-the-dark paint. And this is how it looks when it's actually glowing in the dark. You can see the colors are much different than in the daylight. So I just used 3 colors for this. And blue, green, and orange. And the glow-in-the-dark paints are sky blue, green, and pink, which is orange when it's glowing in the dark. And I want all of these dots to be the same size, so I am going into the paint each time. And these colors are really sequentially repeating, so it's going to be blue, green, orange, blue, green, orange. You'll see as we go through. It's just a little bit of a different pattern. So I wanted to include this one for another idea of a different pattern that you can do. Here I'm making kind of like a little Christmas tree with 3 dots and then 2 dots and then 1 dot. Okay, time for the glow paint. So this pink adds a nice little pinky color to the orange that you can see in the daylight, but definitely under the glow light it is orange. Previous rock I used dark blue over the blue dots, but on this rock I am using the sky blue over the blue dots. Using the sky blue over the blue dots. Charging it up, and here's how it looks with no light shining on it. Isn't that lovely? And here it is after it's all been sealed. Here it is outside under a UV blacklight. And this is how it looks when it's glowing in the dark. So here's the original rock with the design that I wanted to use for a black rock. And here is that original rock as it is glowing in the dark. So here is the black rock that we are painting, and all of the colors that were used. Now some of these do not fluoresce. The middle green ones, the teal colored ones, do not fluoresce, but they still look great. And I used this light blue color on the first layer and the last layer, so I'm trying to explain that in the video here. So in the last layer I covered it with the purple glow-in-the-dark paint, as you can see there. And in the first layer I covered it with the sky blue glow-in-the-dark paint. Checking the original design, and I have pre-marked the middle of this rock with the pencil. So the first layer we are doing with the light blue neon lights color. And this is how I start most of my rocks, making a larger center dot and then making 12 dots around that with a much smaller dotting tool. Now this next layer is something different that I have not really done on any other rocks, but I wanted to do something a little different, so I am making like a star shape almost, and I am putting a tiny dot over each of the previous dots and then one slightly above that in the center of those, and then I'm connecting all of those dots, and I'm just using the same tool to do all of that. And all of this is done in that light blue color. And I'm just going over some of the lines that weren't quite as thick as they should have been. You can always fix your mistakes on all of these. They're not really mistakes. So next I'm going with the light green. You can see as we add more colors that some of these center colors are going to start looking like they're white, but they're not. I just love teal, so there's a lot of teal on this rock. And I just like the way this color sounds. Teal mint. Sounds like make a good drink. I'm using the same color, teal mint, for all of this part of the pattern. And then Mermaid's tail. So for all of these teal colors, we're actually going to be covering them all with the same aqua glow-in-the-dark paint. And it looks really cool when they glow because they're different. They're not all the same color, just different shades. Okay, my favorite, the Liquitex Gouache. And this glows, it's fluorescent, so if you have a black light, this really shows up nicely. And the thing about gouache is that it's very opaque, so it covers very well. And I'm just walking around. It really gives a nice effect. Not quite as much blue in this rock as some of my other ones. Just this one layer. Continuing on with the green, giving the whole thing a nice frame. And we're going back to more towards the middle to add just a little bit more of the light green. And we are using this as the last layer. Just a series of dots walking around. And then a little flourish over each one of those green dots. And I'm capping off each one of those flourishes with another kind of medium-sized dot. It helps bring it all together because when you're making your flourishes on kind of a rough rock, they don't always turn out very even. Okay, so checking out the glow on the comparison rock and charging up this rock, you can see that those teal ones don't fluoresce. Okay, starting with the sky blue in the middle. I only use one layer of this glow-in-the-dark paint because I am putting it over a background of other paint, so it brings out the colors of the other paint as well as adding a glow to the paint. And it goes on white, so basically it's pretty invisible, but you'll see it definitely glows in the color that we're talking about. This, like I said before, this neutral white glow paint, when it's placed over a yellow or this light green color, it looks kind of yellowish when it's glowing in the dark. But on other applications, it actually does look white. Depends what color you are putting it on. You're going to use aqua on these 1, 2, 3 colors of teal. So this is all the aqua. Now we're moving on to the dark blue. I often use the dark blue over the purple because the dark blue really glows purple. It's a dark purple. It's really beautiful. You can put it over blue and then it looks like dark blue, but when you put it over purple, it looks like dark purple. And then we're going with the sky blue on the blue dots there. Okay, our last layer, we are going to go with the purple, and this is It looks purple when you're putting it on in the daylight, but it also glows purple. So this is going to glow a light purple as opposed to a dark purple that the dark blue looks like. So depending on what color you use underneath this purple glow-in-the-dark paint, it changes the way that the glow color looks. Okay, charging it up. Isn't that like awesome? So fun to do this. And here it is after it's been sealed. And here it is glowing in the dark. You can see the differences slightly between the purples. And there's the original on the left and then the one we just painted on the right. So you can see what I mean, it glows more brightly when it's on a white background. So here are the 3 rocks we just did, charging up under the UV Blacklight. And here they are glowing in the dark. I want to talk about finishing a little bit. These original rocks I did were coated in resin, and you can see that they do glow nicely, but they may turn yellow over time, so I wanted something different. So I found that this Rust-Oleum Universal formula works well for me because it has a trigger spray. I have a hard time with the caps on these things, so this one works well.